that tomorrow didn't matter. We had lost the track of time. Now that we're moving to a new chapter, I hope you remember. We're just gonna be fine, no matter what lays ahead of us. There's plenty of miracles down the line. And if you ever feel you're hopeless, remember that we're just gonna be fine. Ooh, ah, ooh. When you think of all we've been through, the good, the bad, but hey, what a ride. Wouldn't change a thing. Whatever happens, I know we should just follow the signs. Now that we're moving to a new chapter, I hope you remember. We're just gonna be fine, no matter what lays ahead of us. There's plenty of miracles down the line. And if you ever feel
Here.
Councilmember Stewart,
Here.
Councilmember Ellis,
Here.
Councilmember Orlando.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you, City Clerk. Next on our agenda tonight is scheduled public appearances. I'd like to invite Councilmember Harris, if you would please join me out front. First on our agenda, we have a service recognition. Warren Wright, please, and John Knutson.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Tonight I'd like to offer Warren White his 20 years of service. Warren is a principal engineer on our capital projects team. He began his career as an engineer in what is now GIS services. For 12 years, he managed a team to build the city's GIS, including land information, utilities, and other foundational layers. He assisted with developing the city's ADA transition plan and served for many years as the ADA coordinator. Warren also serves on the Maricopa Association of Governments Specifications and Details Committee to enhance valley-wide construction standards. He makes yearly updates to keep Chandler's current with MAG standards. Warren is a dedicated public servant. He is always approachable, cooperative, and professional, and is a steadfast resource for almost any project where a particular attention to detail is necessary. He is a pleasure to work with, who is supportive of others, and very talented and knowledgeable engineer. Thank you for your first 20 years as part of Team Chandler, and we hopefully will have many more years to come. Thanks, Warren.
Mr. Knutson, I like the way you did that. I don't think we've ever said first 20 years before. Next, we have a proclamation for Juneteenth. I'd like to invite some of our community leaders and partners who work with our diversity, equity, and inclusion team. So Glenn Levon Woods, Levon here. Very good. Dr. William Crawford, Erica Maxwell, Keisha Beach, Dr. Adama Salou, and members of the Chandler Chambers DEI committee who are in appearance. And Councilmember Harris, normally I read if I only have one, but would you do us the honors?
Yes, all right, I sure will. Well, let's hope that I get all the words right. Whereas our country and the city of Chandler is made up of people from every nation on earth who are declared equal not only in freedom, but also in justice, both of which are essential for a healthy human civilization. And whereas our nation was conceived on July 4, 1776, with the Declaration of Independence, the classic statement being, we hold these truths to be self evident that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. Whereas at 2 p.m. on New Year's Day, January 1st, 1863, using this war powers as president, Abraham Lincoln signed the Emancipation Proclamation, providing that all persons held as slaves within any state or designated part of a state shall be then the rights of property between former masters and slaves, and the connection whereto existing between them becomes that between employer and hired labor. And whereas on June 19th, 1865, almost 2.5 years later, Major General Gordon Granger arrived in Galveston, Texas, and announced the end of both the Civil War and slavery. His announcement reads in part, the people of Texas are informed that in accordance with a proclamation from the executive of the United States, all slaves are free. And therefore, Mayor Kevin Harkey do hereby proclaim June 19, 2022 as Juneteenth and the witness that we all are here. So I'm going to give this to who wants the proclamation? All right. All right.
All right. Let's take a picture. All right, that concludes our special appearances and well done. I didn't hand it to you because it was the longest proclamation I ever saw, by the way. Council, we've had two items that have been called in for presentations tonight. The first was by myself and Vice Mayor Rowe, a presentation on item number 7, sole source purchase of Beam Global EV ARC 2020 solar powered EV charging stations. Hello.
Hello, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Today, I understand that there were a few questions regarding the Beam EV ARC 2020 and the purchase as sole source. Hopefully, one brief slide, hopefully it answers all the questions. I also have some pictures to illustrate what it actually looks like. So the Beam EV ARC 2020 is completely off-grid, no external power sources, no utility costs, no engineering, no permitting, no construction, and no inspections. It's kind of another tool in our toolbox with our efforts to provide electric vehicle charging within the city. Current locations within Arizona that the product is deployed is Dive, Arizona, which is a private company in Queen Creek. The city of Glendale has a product at the public library, and Maricopa County, their fleet uses this for their fleet charging as well, and that's what our intent is as well. Marine Corps Air Station Yuma also has these deployed on the air station. These are level 2 charging stations. There is no rapid charging station option. The model selected will charge up to 2 vehicles simultaneously. The single car charge rate is 20 to 25 miles range in 1 hour. A 2-car charge rate is 10 to 12 mile range in 1 hour. Basically, it splits that charge capacity. Optimal use to function as a daily renewal, range renewal. full charge in 24 hours up to 265 e-miles. The solar panel does track with the sun. It's a kind of an energy optimization feature. And also it includes an emergency power panel capable of providing a small wattage of 208 and 240 volt, and also capacity to provide 120 volt connections with a GFCI protection. And this is the units themselves. They are mobile. The vendor would deliver them based on a trailer, especially made to locate these where we see fit. But at a later time, if we do decide to move them to another location, we can do so with a forklift and a flatbed. So we do have that option available.
Well, very good. Let's start with Vice Mayor. Do you have any questions, comments?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. It's an attractive looking product, but I'm concerned about the cost. I'm usually a big fan of solar, but the cost of these two stations, I mean, has somebody hammered out a 10 key to see what the return on this is?
Through the mayor, Vice Mayor wrote, this is going to be used completely for fleet in itself. And the reason why we chose this selection was what I call a hard installation, where we have a conventional charger at fleet, would cost approximately $98,000. Because of the infrastructure that's not existing at fleet, we would have to put that in place, which adds to the cost of the project. So this was a viable sort of another tool in our toolbox option to accommodate an EV charging station at fleet. Otherwise, we would have, give an example, at development services, we're currently putting in a charging station at that facility. And all in total, that project will cost about $30,000. Only because the electrical room is conveniently located adjacent to the parking lot. So logistics plays a major role in cost when it comes to charging stations.
Okay, anyway, it just doesn't seem like the return on investment is very good for me. Government, I know government pays too much for stuff, but this seems like just a huge amount. So
Understandable.
those are my thoughts. Thank you.
Councilmember Stewart, did you have a question or comment? No. Any additional questions or comments related to this? Yeah, I do know that part of the, I think one of the two of these is also part of the council contingency that council has later on that we'll be voting on Thursday. So this is something that one of these is coming out of the money that council has set aside specifically for that fund. So the other would be out of the general. All right, thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
Our second question or request was made by Councilmember Ellis on item 17. Councilmember Ellis.
City Manager, we have.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, Councilmember Ellis, our police chief, Sean Duggan, would be happy to give a brief overview of this grant item.
Well, good evening, Mayor, members of council, Councilmember Ellis. This is basically a request to allow the police department to accept $60,000 in grant funding from the Arizona Criminal Justice Commission. And this grant would primarily be used to purchase gas masks to replace older gas masks that are about to expire. This grant is actually a federal grant from the Department of Justice, and it's administered within Arizona by the Criminal Justice Commission. There are no matching funds, so essentially no strings attached to this.
Thank you, Chief. The reason why I really wanted to call this is because I want the people of Chandler to know that how much your department is working toward bringing things in that really you're in need of, rather than continually come to the city for these kinds of things. Wherever there is a situation where you can get it, whether through grants or things like that, but you are very aggressive in going after that money to make it happen. Real quick question, with you receiving that money, you said it's going to be for masks. How many of those masks are we going to be able to replace, and how many do we have still pending that we could replace in the future?
Well, each mask costs just over $500.
Mm-hmm.
So we're looking at replacing close to 100, if not more. So depending on tax and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And if there's any funding left over, we would use that remaining funds to purchase a few laptop computers for our recruits in the academy.
All right, amazing. Well used money. Thank you again for all you do. We really appreciate it. The last time I spoke with you, I asked you if you feel that you were supported by this council and the city and the city manager's office and everything that you are pursuing and doing. And the answer was overwhelmingly yes. And so thank you again for all you're doing. Appreciate it. Convey my
Thank you.
Support and love to the guys in blue and gals in blue. Thank you.
Any additional questions or comments? Councilmember Harris.
Yeah, it's just another testament that the police department is a very important part of our community. We work together to make sure things happen. But this particular grant also shares with the community that we're taxpayers alone is not looking to support and get the guys and gals in blue what they need, but there's other ways that we're doing this. And this is just another example of how we are taking our resources, our intellectual thoughts in mind, and being able to put pen to paper to go out there and get it and not solely depend on the council. So again, thank you for serving the community and the taxpayers in that way as well. Thanks.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Council, we only had 2 items called in. On Thursday, we'll have a public hearing related to the adoption of the annual budget. And don't disappear, we are continuing into an exec session. So with that, I'd like to conclude this meeting.